That was Bloody Mary, and it's really hard to figure out what's the name of the song and what's the name of the band. So I'm going to put the link in the chat if you like metal. That's a good place to go check it out. So this is I love metal, right? Like if you guys know me, I'm a metalhead from way back. Like 35, maybe 36, 37 years back.
I'm close to that.
When they had vinyl. And then they had vinyl again. So yes, Ross, Mr. Ross in the chat is a Kiwi caricature artist and animator, and he did this for me this past weekend. Over on Saturday, we went to this thing. Armageddon, Wintergeddon. Are you getting it? Are you going to go? Are you going to there we go. 2024 Winter show at Armageddon in Auckland. So I sat down for half an hour with him, and he drew this live, and he used them. I'm not sure if there's pencil under here, but I didn't see him pick up any pencil, so this is ink.
That's cool.
And yeah, I love this. This is really cool. Really good. I've got to frame it. Just haven't had time. But thank you for joining us. I've got my good friend, and I say good friend because he's the first one that came up and went, "Hey, look, I like to support you," and did a pin up out of the blue for Robot Nation, which we're going to talk about later. But I'm going to get Christian to talk about his work. He's got a Kickstarter coming up as well, and as you guys know, we're all about supporting indie creators because we are one here. And doesn't matter where you are in the world, doesn't matter what you're creating, music, movies, documentaries, artworks, murals, comic books, of course, and writing. So if you have an indie project, hit us up. Hit us up, and we'll get you on board because we want to support that. Now, I'm going to put Christian on solo so that he can introduce himself to people who may not know him. But we've talked to. This is more a relaxed one today, not a full-on interview type thing, because we already know what Christian's like. You got that interview later on. So take it away, Christian.
Hey, all right. My name is Christian Zaffo. I am the creator of the Chosen One universe. I have an upcoming campaign starting in July, on July 13th. It'll be one of my main two characters. His name is Addix. It's going to be called Addix Unbound Fury. It's a 3-part story. Well, hopefully it'll be a 3-part story. And it takes place directly after my last campaign, which was basically, there it is right there. That's the sign-up page. It's all set. If you're interested, head on over there, sign up. No obligation for anything yet. So I had a campaign that I just finished fulfilling a couple of weeks back. Took a while to do, but it was a big all or nothing kind of out of the gate. My whole universe all at once. I called it the Big Bang moment because that's basically what it was. All short stories of all the characters I intend to create and write and develop in this universe. And this is the first story arc coming out of that. And it'll be, like I said, it's just launching in July, and it focuses around Addix, who is a superpowered person, but he wasn't born with it. He is a government experiment gone rogue. The evil government organization that's trying to take over the world. And he's basically just an experiment, really. If you're familiar with what they did with Captain America's super soldier serum, it's similar to that in ways, but it's definitely unique. In the picture you see there, that's another character you'll be introduced to for the first time in this story fully. I think you see her in the last page of the last campaign. Similar powers to him, and is going to pose some big problems for our hero here. But basically what it is they're he's looking to dismantle this organization that took advantage of him when he was down on his luck and turned him into this creation. This is some of the covers. That's the cover right there for the number 0 that was in the last campaign. And so he was a highly decorated military man with a wife and kid, and he retired at the age of 30 from the military to spend more time with his family. And shortly after doing so, his wife was killed horrifically in a car accident. He got hit by a truck. And he basically went into a downward spiral from there. Turned out that he tried to look for the answers at the bottom of the bottle, and his daughter is left to take care of him. And one day, the guys in the black suits show up and offer him a deal and promise to take care of his daughter and him if he says yes to it. And sometime later, Addix was born. And can't really go into it too much more than that without spoiling it. But needless to say, he's basically on a mission now of vengeance, and he won't stop until he dismantles this entire agency and anyone that they sponsor or supports them. And he has the help of 2 ex-military friends of his that basically act as his ops team. And this is the first page of the last of issue 0. You see him taking out some of these guys. But yeah, so this is I want to do all my characters in 3-issue story arcs, going from one to the next. And rather than so much doing cameos or crossovers, my plan is to have things that happen around them during the course of the story that are going to be tying the universe together. You'll understand them either as you're reading it, or later on you'll reflect back and be like, oh, I saw that happen in that issue of the other story arc. That way I'm not trying to put out 3 different books at the same time to keep it all in continuity and connected. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to this. I'm really excited about the story, the art and the teams. You know, I do all the art and the writing myself. I did the lettering. As of right now, I'll be doing the lettering moving forward until I decide to get someone else for that. But I have a great team of colorists, and there's been some really great people doing variant covers. I had some really great ones on the first campaign, and I have some really nice ones on this one as well. That picture you actually see is one of the covers on the sign-up page, and that's by Vic Medina, who I think just did a fabulous job with them. I mean, you know, he nailed it first time out of the gate. And yeah, that right there. And in the previous one, I had the 2 guys I sought out right away are guys that had inspired me since I was younger. When I was getting into the business around the same time they were getting their names, Bart Sears and Andy Smith, and I have a cover from both of them on that campaign. So that was such a great thrill to be able to have them on there. And I don't know what else there is. I mean, you can see right there a little bit of my bio. I did an in-depth bio add on to the campaign, the last campaign. There's also going to be there's the 2 covers, Bart Sears and Andy Smith. Bart's on the right, Andy on the left. This first campaign, I'm going to put together a trade paperback, like perfect bound soft cover, as a catch-up tier on this new campaign for all those that have missed it that might want to go back and get it. Also, some of the prints that I offered, I'll probably be reoffering them again in the campaign only. What else? I don't know. I think that's all I have right now for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna like, you know, ask you a bit more questions about that as we go on.
Oh, no problem.
So how's things been, man? Like, I mean, like, it's been like maybe, I don't know, maybe 8 months since we last chatted.
Yeah.
On here.
Last time we talked, I was really anxious to get everything done and out. I had to wait a while. It was my first time doing any of this, especially by yourself, and you know, with crowdfunding, you're your own publisher, and you have to try and find people that can help you get through all the tough spots. So I had a lot of good people helping me, and they were patient with me, and it took a while, longer than I thought, longer than I expected. I started getting a little antsy because I had this one was already drawn. I was already getting colorists for it lined up, and to keep the momentum going, like I told you, I'm about halfway through the next book after this one, as far as the pencil line artwork is concerned. And yeah, I just, you know, I'm really feeling this story specifically because this is probably one of the stories I've had the longest. You know, I started creating these back when I was in high school, early college. So this character, they've seen a lot of changes over the years, but they've been with me for a long time. So I kind of know, like, they kind of write themselves now in my head, you know? But yeah, so I'm really anxious to get this out. I'm excited with where this is going to end up and what it's going to open up as far as the stories afterwards. Because, you know, you look at this, like, one of my things is I was a 90s kid in the sense that was my informative years with comics. I was born in 75, but the 90s was where I was all about the comics of the 90s. And I feel there was a great energy and everything was new and whatever. So I kind of wanted to recapture that feeling in my characters and in my stories. And one of the things is, though, that, like, so even though you have, you know, people at first glance might be like, oh, superheroes, you know, superheroes are a little tired, played out, whatever. There is, and again, I can't really give too much about it away, otherwise it'll start opening up the story. But you will find out as soon as you read the first, like, if you already have it, or if you go and get the catch up tier and you read the first short stories of all the characters, you can kind of feel out where certain things are going to go or where they could potentially go. It's not your straightforward superheroes. There's a lot of I have steampunk in there. I have what else? I have sci-fi, I have fantasy, like it's like a future fantasy, so it's reminiscent of Dungeons and Dragons, but they have some futuristic stuff in there. You have are you familiar with the old TV show Fringe that was out?
Yeah.
The alternate reality.
Yeah, I love that one.
I have a story that has that kind of feel to it, and it's done monochromatically, the color, to give it that older, rustic feel. So I like to advertise it as there's a little bit for everybody out there, because I feel if you got to have a like for something in one of those types of genres. But the thing I try to do when I create them all, and when I picked out, because I have characters that'll never see the light of day because they just don't fit into the universe I'm creating. But the stories I picked to eventually develop now, I feel can eventually all link together in a way that you might not see coming. There's a backup story in this three issue arc that I'm starting with this next Kickstarter. It's only 6 pages per issue, so you'll have 18 pages of story when all is said and done. But it gives you insight to a character that it's almost like the great grandparent of somebody. You know what I'm saying? And you'll find that out later on.
So with these 3 stories, right? And you're releasing them as a set first, and so people aren't having to wait for like I'm doing with Rogue Nation. So you're not like waiting for a couple months down the road or whatever, a year to get the next issue.
No, they will. They will. I'm sorry. It is coming out one at a time. You'll be able to get the back. Each one will come with a catch-up tier where you could pick up the ones prior to.
Sure.
But I'm doing it.
So how are you? So this is my confusion. So you're releasing one book, and then you've got all 3 already created, though, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm creating the one after this right now.
Okay.
I'm drawing now. So I'm about a book and a half ahead.
So once this Kickstarter finishes and gets to people, so you're going to, as soon as that finishes, you're going to hit number 2 and then hit number 3? Is that
as soon as? Yeah, I don't want to release anything before people have it in their hands. So once fulfillment is done on my end, I'll give it a couple of weeks, and then I'll launch the next one. So my hopes is this one I'll launch in July.
Yeah.
Ideally, I would like to have the next one up and running for December, for the holiday season.
Right.
So I don't want too much time to go by. I want to have this wrapped up. This 3-story arc I want to have wrapped up before summer next year.
Right. So is your number 2 already done, or has it been colored, or what stage is it at?
So this is number 1. Number 1's being colored right now.
Okay.
All right, everything is done. It's being colored right now.
Yeah.
The other one is the one after this is halfway drawn. That should be finished because we're almost through June. We're like 2/3 of the way through June. Yeah. By the time the campaign ends, before printing and fulfillment and all that stuff, but when the campaign ends, the artwork for this one will be done, and I'll be sending it out to colorists. That way, come December, I'll already be halfway through or almost all the way through the next one. So there won't be really a wait on me to get these things done. Okay.
Now, you said you were working with other colorists on your books and stuff. So is this like, did you do that with the first one as well, with the Zero?
Yes. Yeah. I had a bunch of people help me out on the first one. I don't want to say help me out. I hired them all, but I didn't know anybody, so I sought these people out through social media. I saw their skills. They were pitching themselves, and I checked them out, and I liked what I saw. Or I saw someone else had someone do their book. Maybe it was similar to what I wanted to put out, and I looked for their colorist to see if poaching. There's not much else you can really do if you don't know anybody.
Right.
But I found some people that were really, I liked what they did. Then they did a couple of test pages, sent it to me. I liked it, and then that was it from there. and I was happy with the final project. So
with the campaign, you're running for 30 days, with this one here. So guys, if you're if you're watching, you guys can, click on here. The link's in the chat. I'll put it up again so you guys can grab it. But at the moment you can basically go in, and I've got saved here, but you can basically click this here, follow, and you can find out once it launches when it's, you get to see what's coming up and stuff as soon as it launches. This is what they call like a pre-launch stage, where it's okayed by Kickstarter, and it's sitting there, and you can leave it there for a year if you want to build up momentum or whatever following.
Yeah.
Or you can do it overnight, and it's hit and go. But like if like Christian said, like if you're into the 90s thing, if you're into sci-fi, if you like that sort of style, sorry, not the style, if you like that sort of story, this is something really cool to check out. But do follow it, and I'm gonna make sure I get this right this time, because I had too much text in the other one. So you can basically go in and follow the link and click on it, and then what it will do is we'll send you like an email or let you know it's going to happen. And that's how Kickstarter works on these things. And so, hey, it's coming up. Check it out. And if you're interested, like I say, you've got like a PDF, you got a digital version, you got all this other stuff that you're going to do with it, right? With print and everything.
Yeah. So let me I'll just show you the hard copy stuff that came in, the printed stuff from the other one. I'm just going to change my screen for a second so you can see it.
Sure. Go here.
All right. So this is the hardcover book, and this is one of the covers. I think I had 5 different covers for this. Mm-hmm. And this one was done by Louise Thomas. And so this is hardcover. So this was the anthology portion. There's 6 short stories in this one, and the quality was, it came out really good.
Cool. Yeah. And this is one of the tiers, right?
This was one of the tiers in the. So this here will be in a combined with. Let me show you real quick. This hardcover book, which is 6 anthology with 6 short stories, is going to be combined with this book, which is the floppy comic one, which has these 2 characters. Addix, who's in the new campaign. He's the focal point of the new campaign. This gentleman here is Aaron. He's going to be a follow-up story arc once this one is done. This had it was done like a flip book. So you had on one side, you had one story.
Yeah.
Get to the middle, and then you go back to the other side, and you have the other story on the other end.
Cool. So so it's a flip book. So was it how many pages per story did you have in that?
This was 32 pages, I believe, and this was. Right. Oh no, I'm sorry. I think this was 36 pages, and this was 72 pages.
So you're looking at what, 11 pages per story, or 10 pages?
Well, this year was 15 and 16, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And then it had like an ad in it. And then, you take into account the context pages.
Sure.
So I think it was 36. It might have been 34. The actual count, unless I go through and count, I don't remember it off the top of my head. The new one's going to be 35 pages, main story, 6 pages, backup story, and then maybe like 2 pages with promo. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so you're going to get all this in one paper-bound version as a catch-up tier.
Yeah.
But it also includes, like I said, I put a little bit of a bio story in here with some sketches that I did about myself and how I created the universe that I'm putting out.
Right.
These are all the different stories. Mm-hmm. There's 6 different ones. And then you have Yeah, I did an ad for this. Is the one that's that the upcoming campaign is for, Addicts #1, Unbound Fury.
Right.
And so, yeah, so you would get in the next one, these are both going to be, they're going to be comic size. So it's not going to be the oversized hardcover size anymore. And it's all going to be combined in one perfect bound trade. And that's pretty much what you'll have as a backup tier if you missed it the first time around.
Mm. So
sorry.
Let me just bring that in. Yeah, it's winter here, and my nose is like going. I've got to keep touching my nose, like so it won't leak or something. So yeah, so that's why you guys see me like this. Like it's a bit of a chill going on. So that's pretty cool, man. I've never had anything hardcover printed, but I collect a lot of hardcover stuff, and it reminded me, like, look, this is a hardcover, and I picked it up ages ago, right? I bought it for our convention to sell, and then I kept a couple myself. But here's the cool thing about that. I didn't realize, but that actually this past weekend, that I realized it released this freaking floppy, and I was like, I'll get the floppy as well.
Oh yeah.
Now I've got a floppy to go along with that hardcover, so nice. It's really cool to see. And when you've got a collection like it did with it, it's really cool to actually have a hardcover print. It's something more magical. It's like another step, right? Like I don't feel like anything on my computer is real until it's like this. I don't feel digital is real until it's here.
Yep.
I can touch it, smell it, open it up. And that's why that's why I'm all for physical media compared to digital media, because I think I can reach for it when like I just did, right? I can reach for it and go show it to you. And digital is like, oh yeah, it's just on my computer. There's like no value to it, nothing. And this is like 2012. I didn't even know they put it out in 2012, right? Yet it was, New Zealand Comics had that on their site, and on their store, and I was like, yeah, I got to get that because I didn't know they released it that way. And to see that, because these things here, right, are in libraries. This is a New Zealand comic book, and a moa is a bird that got eaten out of existence, right? A large, like a giant ostrich, and so it got eaten out of existence because that's what food was, right? That's how you got your protein and stuff. So, gentleman named James Davidson, New Zealand, writer, and one of our friends who it's in New Zealand, publisher. He published it, and I just brought it up for the convention. I said, hey, let's put, I want to present our comics here in New Zealand at our convention. So the other part of that is like you've got like trade paperbacks. So you got floppies, then you got trade, then you got, and that's why I like seeing what I just saw. Right?
Is that the whole story?
Because it's cool to have stuff like this all set up with set up as collections. And the great thing about these is once you print them, kids in libraries and schools, right, can pick it up and stuff. And I think it's I love seeing comics in comic stores, but and I love seeing Kickstarter comics or Kickstarter people getting them and backing them, and I love that support. And because we just did Incredible, that got supported, they got put out there, and of course now we've got Robot Nation, but the end goal should be to get into as many hands as possible. And it's your comic. Like if you're just thinking about like sit on Kickstarter all day or just sell to my friends at the convention, that's all cool. And like I said, when I run my conventions, I make sure those comics are there to sell. But that should not be your end goal. Your end goal should be to get it as many people into as many people's hands as possible. That's why I don't like the whole idea of it's digital. Let's keep it digital. Let's sell digital. The offering's there for digital. And it should always be there, right? For people who can't afford it, like who are like way out in the wops. It's going to be like here. I'm like, every time I get a comic from America, it's going to cost me $30 for, or like an Aussie, it cost me $20. Like I got this sent this past week when I got back from the convention from the Mac Brothers, right? When I got home, this was waiting on my door the other day. I opened it up on stream. And I said I want a foil cover, so I did because I know the guys interviewed them. I said, hey, I want a foil cover, so I'll pay for that separate. But then on Kickstarter, I went on and I paid for this as well, and they paid for the postage and everything. So then, it cost me about $20 from Australia to get these two sent out. So one of the things I think a lot of people don't understand is Kickstarter isn't that expensive if you look at what's happening in the comic stores right now.
Yeah.
Incentive covers are like $50, $40, $30. So you shouldn't bulk at the price when it comes to a 25 limited issue covers. So like, I mean, I'm going to, I don't know if you can open up your one to show us on your side screen, but I'm going to show you guys what we're doing right on our one, so you can see what's on offer. So the reason I want to show you this is because when we do our covers, we don't do like 100,000 issues, right? These are limited set covers, which means when you go in there, you're going to get like 25 for some cover or 50. That's the max, right? Because these things are limited, and the only things that aren't limited like is our English, Portuguese, and Spanish cover, right? So you get this in English, you get that in Spanish, and you get that in Portuguese. However, you go to these other ones, it's something like about 25 covers, limited. That's it. That will be printed. We'll probably print another 5 for ourselves as as archives, and for for our creators and stuff, and people have done the work, and so forth. But 50 is the maximum on any of these, right? So if you back one of these covers, you're getting 1 in 50 or 1 in 25. That's the most limited. But here's the thing: if you're a shop owner, and a lot of people don't understand that, if you're a shop owner and you're running a comic shop, you have to buy 25 comics to get that 1 in 25 limited cover, variant cover, right? And that really is what destroys comic stores, as well as the crossovers that has been done that for the years, for decades right now, especially the last 15 years. Crossovers. Oh, you got to buy 25. No, you got to buy 30. Now you got to buy 100 comics to know the story, right? Or 60. And as a former comic store owner, I felt the heat of that. Like, because oh, I had all this, and it's like nobody wants it now because they moved on to the next crossover.
Yeah, it doesn't help them, because if you have a small comic shop, and which a lot of them are, and they sell maybe 5 or 6 of a title in a given week, they'll never get a cover, an exclusive cover, or one of these sketch covers or anything like that are offered, because they have to get 25 or 50 or 100. That 100 one, they'll never get that. And if they really want it that bad, then they got to buy all the stock that they'll never move, and then they got to.
Well, here's the thing about that, right? If you get 1 in 100 special, you have to sell. And listen, and I'm going to use the American price, right? It's because most of our food is going to be American here. And in New Zealand, as you guys know, what the price of a comic is, right? It's around about $9 to about $12 to about $14 to about $24 or $50 here in a shop.
Wow.
And I'm all for shops, and we've got a shop tier. But so if you decide to get, if somebody comes in and goes, hey, I want that cover, and it's 1 in 100, and you got to weigh out, I now need to spend $200 American, right, to actually spend to get that one cover. And on top of that, I got to be able to have a market for that 100 comics that I've just paid $200 for, to get rid of it, right? To sell, to make back my 200, but then also to make my profit, which is basically 400, make it worthwhile to me. And I think this is why, like, I think there's a misunderstanding about how this works when it comes to variant covers in stores. Just same thing. You got to buy 25 at about $50, then you got to sell it. And they end up like Christian said, in the backlog. Because that one person wanted that cover, and I've done that before. I've said, "Hey, can I get that cover?" And I've gone out of my way to pay $25 for that cover, because I understand. And this is even before I owned a comic shop, because I understood how it all worked, price wise, And so when you go to back a comic like ours and Christians on, on our Kickstarters, what you get is like what is there. Like you say, okay, I'm going to buy this. You're not going to get any premium prices. You're just going to get what the price is, because we're doing like because we got to pay a third to Kickstarter for this whole, for the use of the software, and the website and everything like that, and all their the audience, because they have a huge audience. Kickstarter is the biggest audience when it comes to crowdfunding in the world, right? If you go on Facebook and you look at I love Kickstarter, Kickstarter backers and stuff, or private groups Kickstarter, there's about 100,000 people on some of them, 60,000, 50,000, and it's huge. And you got, if you're an indie creator, right, you got to be part of those groups, because that's where your audience is. That's where people get to see it. Because if you're not out there pushing yourself, you're not going to get seen, especially if you're just starting out. And I learned that the hard lesson last year, man. I was like, I should have been like out here like for about a year going, yo, we got this comic coming up. We got this comic coming up. Right. And joining every group I could get to, and, and try and figure out what's going to work and what isn't going to work. So Christian, now I want to talk about how you're marketing, because, segue to that, because I think that's probably really good to talk about, marketing an indie comic, because none of us like in the indies have thousands and thousands of dollars to promote shit. Like,
well,
seriously,
I get a coffee cup and I go and stand on the corner and I'm like, please help me out. No, I send it everywhere. I'm not as well versed as most people with all the social media, but I mean, I hit Twitter, I hit Instagram, I obviously big on Facebook. I want to get my own YouTube, but for now I've been I've been jumping in and out of people's streams who will have me, obviously, and there's some people that have been really generous and have let me promote my stuff. So yeah, it's that's part of the job too. It's just nonstop. It never ends. You got to if you ain't gonna sell it, who is? And no one's gonna do it for you. And it's your stuff, and if you care about it and it means something to you, like this does to me, this is something I've always wanted to do. I mean, I've been doing art since I was 6 years old. I mean, granted, just like in everything else, I know I'm far from the greatest comic book artist out there, but this is what I do, and I love it, and you have to love it, because it's a lot of work if you don't love it. If you don't love it and you're doing this, you're going to burn out. You're going to not fulfill, even if you start a campaign. We see many of those go on. It has to be something you care about. It has to be something you enjoy doing. It's like the old saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I love doing this. Right now it's in every bit of my spare time that I get, I'm working on my books and the art for it and everything, the writing. But the dream would be to have this be all I have to do, and hopefully one day it gets there. But right now I'm having fun. It's great. Like you said earlier, it's great to see the stuff in print. I offer digital because, again, like you were saying, there's people that just can't afford it. Maybe they have the $10 or $12 for the book, but they don't have the $20 for the shipping, which is insane. It's like, that always boggled my mind. It's like, I work in construction, and it's like giving the guy that's going to run to get coffee. Well, the coffee costs $1.50, so I'm going to give him $1.50 for the coffee, but now I got to pay him $5 to go get it. Like, it's like, that's what it would be like. It's, the person picking it up and dropping it off costs more than the stuff you're getting in the beginning.
I think we're a bit more wiser. Like, I was a bit conscientious, not conscious, but more worried with Incredigirl. Like, people aren't gonna, after that ended, I was like, the cost inflation is really getting high, and everybody, and I'm a bit worried that people won't support it. But then I looked at myself, it's like, hey, I wanted this. I wanted a physical copy of those, right? And it costs probably just slightly bit less than the actual, to get it sent over. It was cost me $20, New Zealand $20, which is another $10 is what will get me from America, so $30 from America. But from these two with the cards, this cost me $20 from New Zealand, which is almost like an hour's worth of work, right? Because I think it's about $25 an hour, which works out to be about $12 US, I think, an hour from Australia. And I'm yet to read it, but I got the guys back. I got to read it before next week because I've got the guys back on next weekend to talk about it and fulfilling that and getting to people and then going to conventions and getting the support and stuff. But I wonder, I don't think the comic buying, we don't give the comic collectors enough credit, right? And we worry too much about freight. I think, and this is where it came down to me. It's like, well, if I'm willing to do that for myself with other people's work, but also there's works that I want, but I don't have the money for, I'm gonna weigh it up, right? What can I afford? What can I get physical, and what can I get digital? So, there was about, I think there's because there's also the other thing I was talking about, like how once you do finish your Kickstarter and you get your your story arc done, then you could offer it to a shop, or to a small print, and you go, hey, look, I've got this. Can we now get it through into your store now? It's a complete set, and that was something I was mentioning, like how we do with our Robot Nation, did do a thing, and I hope everybody looks at this as well, right? That we do something for stores, right? So we did the thing where we charge a retail incentive because, like I mentioned, if you've got your complete story done, you can then now go, hey, I've got these books, these 3 books. Can you, have it in your store? And this is the amount, and so on. I've done all these promotions. I've done the Kickstarter. I've got all this. There's people that are, there, but there's other people that bought the digital, but because of freight, they weren't able to, then buy it. Maybe those guys would be able to get it through a store now. And so would you carry these 3 books? So with this one, I was like, I got to think of a way to tell a story in one single comic book, yet make it a bit more interesting, make it put another story in there. So you got a 28-page comic book, and then how do I market it at stores? You know what? I will now say, well, it's a single standalone book, and every comic that comes out of this series, Robot Nation, is a standalone book. You'll get guest writers, you'll get me writing, you'll get backup stories, maybe by somebody else, 12 pages, 6 pages, and it will open up. And the whole idea will be, it's a Robot Nation idea that there's you're living in a society that's so advanced, you've got robot helpers. It could be robot soldiers, whatever, but the idea is to have robots in it, or cybernetic or stuff like that, and each one's a single issue, self-contained story. So you can pick it up and go, oh yeah, cool, read that, got all the meat and guts out of it. So when the next one comes out, it can come out in 5 years and you won't have to worry about it, they're taking so long, that sort of stuff. Because I understand that as well, because creating comics, right? You do your writing and you do your art yourself. It takes a long time, man. So
it takes longer if you're forcing it. It takes if you really are into it. Listen, I did a 40. This one that's coming up now. This campaign that's coming up now is like I said, it's 35 pages plus a 6-issue backup story. I did all of those, and I didn't even realize I was done. It was done so fast. And then what I did is I went back through all of them, and I tweaked some things here and there, and I was like, no, this is done. Leave it alone. Move forward. But I have a little bit of a ADD when it comes to my artwork. I lose focus very fast. So so that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. So each arc I do is going to be the main story, the main character. They're going to have their 3 issues. wrap up their story for right now, go on to another character later, or another group of characters in their book, whatever that is, 3 stories, whatever, 3 issues, whatever. But in the back of each one of them, I'm always going to have that 6-page supplemental that runs with that story, but it's going to be something else. And so I see people put up campaigns now where they offer supplementals, which is basically like something else happening in their universe, but it's not the main story, but it gives you a broader spectrum of their world or their universe or whatever it is. That's what my backup stories are. They're smaller stories. They're not integral to the main continuity, but they fit in somewhere, and it just makes it that much more interesting. And one of my stretch goals for this one, which is the final stretch goal. So if I make it all the way to the final stretch goal, I'm also going to be offering, and I'm going to try and offer this on every campaign, a different one, but it's going to be an ash can, which is basically going to be the rough. It's going to be the rough pencils of the first 6 or 8 pages of a future story, and I will use these pages when I get to that arc. And now you'll have something way in advance that only the people that bought it at that time when that campaign was around are going to have. It's like pretty much my thought process of this story that now came out 5 years later, 3 years later, whatever it is. So I thought that was something cool to add to it, and it helps me with my, if I'm getting stuck on a page, all right, I'm going to move over here and work on the ash can stuff.
Yeah,
kind of break the block and then move back. So I've kind of figured out a way to keep myself active and keep everything flowing at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's how I discovered not to have writer's block, right? To have a whole bunch of stuff working all the time. And so whenever you go, sometimes I'll get I've got a couple, maybe a paragraph or a line or two of dialogue on that story, but I need to finish this story, but that story's hurting my brain because I just can't work it out. So I'll jump onto something else or I'll jump on some artwork. And I think a lot of people haven't learned to do that because they have that one thing and that's all they stick to. And because of that, then they get into this, I can't finish my story. I got writer's block. It's like, go do something else.
Right.
Find something else to work on creatively. Like I'm working on I think about 6 or 7 books right now, right? And and I'm working on issue 2 of Fantastical Romy. Issue 1 is being close to getting illustrated, penciled and inked. And while that's happening, I've got I was just here. I've got a message from my from Louise, who's a translator for this, right? So he's the guy who's translating this one here. So this is he's translating for cover C, and he was asking what is status, right? So Luis is it's this one here. So he's translating this. So this is Luis here from Brazil, and he's translating this into Portuguese, right? So that's the Spanish. That's the Portuguese cover translation. And so he's going, sorry.
All the translators are doing their own lettering, or are they translating it for one letter?
So all the translators that are on there, there's Louise and there's Tomas. So this is Tomas's. He's working on a book manga called The Tortoise, right? So he's working on that right now. So he's taking a break from that to spend 2 weeks translating the Robot Nation book into Spanish. And so same thing with Louise. He's taking a break from working on Howler, right, to translate it into Robot Nation, this issue, into Portuguese. And so then they'll return back to their books because
they're doing the actual lettering.
The way it is, oh no, I do all the lettering myself.
Oh, okay. So they're translating it, and you're just gonna give it to you, and then you put it in. I got
it. So this is a sample of that here. So this is a page here. So this is, this is Louise here. So this is in Portuguese right here. I don't know how to read Portuguese, so but I do know what this says, right? This is Venus Colony Alpha, right? This is Captain Prashankar calling again, right? And so, por favor, right? Respond, and so on, and and so it's this is the magic of working with people who love the art form, right?
Yeah.
Who you have the support of as creators. Like they've got their own book. I'm like, hey guys, so some people were talking about like, translations. Would you guys like to do that? Yeah. Luis, do you speak? Can you do it in Spanish? No, Aru, I don't. We don't speak Spanish in Portugal. Oh, in Brazil, I should say. In Brazil, right? We speak Portuguese, and I'm like, wow, that's a new thing I've just learned. And it's. Oh, there he is. He's in the chat, right? So that's my artist on Howler, and I'll show you his artwork just so like since we're here, right? So and he's here. So he was just so he's just asking me about something and on Skype. That's why I was like had myself muted, and so I answered that and I said, hey, I'm on here. So he jumped in. So thank you, dude. So
is this his art right there?
No, this is I'm about to show you his art. So this is not final cover, right? So this is the not final cover to Howler that we're doing a preview of in the actual that we're going to put a page in here in our to show his work, right? So this is what he's working on right now.
Cool.
This is a ongoing series, probably a maxi series. We discussed it yesterday with Edwin, who was on here. We were talking about coloring comics and stuff, and his mask work, and because he's a tattoo artist as well. So Louise, he came on and said, "Oh, we'd like to do some work," and I said, "Oh, got this idea about because I love werewolves. I love wolves, and I would love a story like that." And so I did like an outline. And the weird thing is, most of my stories come from my dreams. All right, I have a very vivid dream life.
It's the best place to get them.
Yeah, and so what I saw was like for this story, right? I saw a lady and a family scared about their baby. A family was getting attacked, and there was a baby, and so I'm like, huh. Okay. Woke up, I thought that's a great idea. Kind of wild. Get this family getting attacked in the night in the middle of nowhere, the little village, and so now you got to like pull it all the way back. It's it's all right. And go, how did that end up there? Like it's just a random story, right? It's a random little dream in the middle of nothing.
Right.
It's back of a whatever sleep pattern, and next thing you know, created this huge freaking world on its own, and then this we had Luis come on, and I was like, okay, we're doing this. So we planned out 2 issues. It's like penciled out 2, but like not penciled, storyboarded 2 issues, like panel by panel, and then went, okay, this fits here, this fits here. All right, now let's go. So so it's a huge project with 12 issues, right? And so we said like, okay, we'll do three issues, and then we'll put that out. Then we'll do 3 issues, and we'll put that out. And so it's a long work. Like, I mean, you're looking at a couple years if you really think about it. But the way I'm writing it is a movie. So I'm hoping that when we finish it, or even like, sometimes people will go, oh, what's this? And they like the idea of the first 3 issues, and they go, oh, okay, be interested in. And I think we could make, if somebody was a filmmaker, especially here in New Zealand, because we have a very huge filmmaking industry, right? And especially indie.
Yeah.
And our horror scene is probably the most exported. Everybody thinks about like Lord of the Rings and stuff, but our indie scene when it comes to horror is like everywhere. Like it's our biggest scene for New Zealand is horror. And so to have to have something like Howler maybe get picked up one day as a movie would be perfect, man. Like, I mean, I wrote it as a movie when I'm like, because I have a background in filmmaking, right? So you know, it doesn't allow for a lot of like you know how like sometimes movies you need special effects for horror, you special effects, right? And so it's interesting when you don't, when the story is the main thing, not the effects.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm kind of like going for with like Howler. But since we're talking about that, I'm gonna get you to watch something, and I was gonna get out, you know, Edwin to watch it yesterday because he's a horror fanatic like myself. But I want your take on this. So there's a movie that's just come out. This is a trailer, sorry, I should say, that's come out, and it's called The Beast Within, and it's got Kit. You know Kit. I think it's Withington or Sherrington from, you know, Nothing Snow. Jon Snow, that guy.
Yeah.
So he's in this, and The Beast Within. Yeah. So
Sounds familiar.
carry on. Sorry.
Oh no, I just said it just sounds familiar.
So yeah, so he's from what's the name of the thing? Game of Thrones, right? Jon Snow,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, that guy.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this up, and we'll watch it together, and then I'll get you to, you know, we'll go over it together and ask you what you think about it.
Cool.
And here's the thing. So I like the setting, and I'm not going to spoil our story, right? But I think, you know, Louise and you know, with him and the artist in the chat, he'll know how our story works, and
I got you.
And not so much in the sense of how this story, but like it's kind of like in the similar vein of like family, you know, because our story is a lot about family, and you know,
Right.
It's got all the monsters and all that stuff, but you know, so this is it here. So The Beast Within, coming out soon, and let's go check it out. Let me bring us down to a bit lower. There we are. So this is, yeah.
These woods, they're my woods. I'm king of these woods.
King.
I, king of these woods, pronounce thee princess.
Dad? Mama?
Yes, we are.
Where are you always going?
I heard you last night. You need to take Willow away.
Are we safe?
I would never let anything hurt you. He is your father.
I didn't want this. This cursed.
It gets harder to control the rage.
This can't go on.
He's gonna tear that child to pieces. Believe in me.
It's him.
It's okay. Don't be scared. I am a monster. Get inside!
He loves us.
Kneel before your king.
So you know,
It looks good.
it looks pretty cool, right?
I just feel bad for the guy. He can't get away from wolves in everything he plays. But yeah, no, that looks good.
Yeah, I looked at, I only saw it like maybe about 2 days ago, and I was like, man, that's a pretty cool. And it kind of made, you know, and then I'm looking at like, it's kind of like our Howler story. but it isn't really because Howler, like our our story, Howler, our comic book, you know, it's about real world mythological creatures, and like historical things. Like we talk about, like we bring in a Ukrainian Navka. Never heard of that character, right? Never heard of that creature. And then also we've got something from Philippines, and then now in their historical mythological belief system, right? They have a mythological creature, and then so we're able to travel the world. And so the idea behind this is that there is a group out there who collect these creatures, right? And so for whatever reason, they they go get them. And so the story is that there's a mum and a son, running a pizza shop in Auckland, New Zealand, where we were last weekend, about 3 hour drive from here, 2.5 hour drive. And so, you get the son's in love with this local girl, and there's conflict there, and then there is the conflict that comes with who these people, who the mom and son are. But I like how this story is about the dad and the daughter, so it's kind of like it's interesting because I think there is I think a lot of us, like when it comes to storytelling, right, and our attachment to stories, I think we are more tied in when there's children involved with a parent. Like and it's like it kind of pulls at our heartstrings. Like, what would I, as a parent, do in that situation, or what would how would I be behaving? So, like when you're writing stories, what do what is your aim when you're telling a story? Because my aim is like, how do I write these characters and to make them behave naturally, to be able to just tell their stories in a way that people will get entertained? How do you tell stories?
So
what is your...
So for this, I'm going to use the story I'm writing right now because it's the freshest in my head. For my character Addicts, his background as to why he is who he is now, how he got there, and where he's going is all about the loss of his wife and love for her, and his daughter and his love for her moving forward. And it fuels his love for them, or for his daughter, fuels his reason for joining the experiment. His love for his wife, who passed away, and his despair of losing her made him a prime candidate for them to go after him, to put him in the project, because they saw he was a man down on his luck, drinking his life away, but he was highly skilled in what they needed. So he was a prime candidate for them. And moving forward, his love again for his daughter is it does two things. It fuels his desire to protect her and move forward and gain vengeance for what they did to him and his family, but also it gives the enemy of the story a chip against him, a card to hold against them. So in writing the story, I needed something that would continuously fuel and explain all of it. And the strongest thing you're ever going to get is the person's love for their children and their family and their loved ones in general is always going to be the key motivator. It has been since mythology was written. I mean, you look at Greek mythology, Roman mythology, North mythology, most of those stories revolve around a love of either a child or another person, love between two people. So there wasn't a lot of thinking really involved. It's like you created a character. Okay, he has this ability. Okay, now beyond that, how did he become who he is? Boom. It just to me, it just kind of comes a little bit like, it's either just going to flow and it's just going to come to me, and I'm going to start elaborating on it quicker and quicker until I have a full story, or it's just going to be a character I designed. I have no story for him, so I won't use him. So that's how they come. Like, I mean, if people that back my stuff and get sucked into the universe, and they stick around, and they see where it goes, they'll realize that Greek and North mythology are really big in my universe.
Right.
A lot of different things are derived from there. I guess I'll give one spoiler that at some point in running through current time, the Greek gods and North gods, they actually do exist.
Wait. Don't NDA yourself, mate. Right? Don't NDA yourself. Carry on. Sorry, I had to get that in there.
But they're there, you know, in the background. There's you're probably not going to have any of them in an actual story. They're just they're known to have existed, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, I derive a lot of inspiration from those stories. I grew up with them as a kid. I loved them, and I read them, and there's a lot you can do with them. There's a lot of different ways you can go with it too. You don't have to just, I see some people use them in stories nowadays, and they just kind of like photocopy that, put it in, and then change some things around it. And like, okay, like Marvel and DC are perfect examples. They use Thor, they use Hercules, they use Ares, the god of war. They use all these things, but they use them as who they were in stories with superheroes in their universe. And I try not to do that.
Yeah. I think, it's the whole idea is to make your story genuine, right? To you, to make it work for you, make it interesting for you. Like, if it's not going to be interesting for you, why would it be interesting for anybody else? And I think this is why a lot of people don't understand about manga, and it's just like, it's so cheap artwork and all that, and like, yeah, but then also if you look at it in mainstream comics, there's hardly any story, and so I think the great thing is with indies is like you can marry up, you can see, there isn't enough story in mainstream, and there is the because of the hard, because they got to get these pages out every day almost, a whole chapter out a week, they have to, some things have to fall by the wayside. But I think if you marry the two together, like a great story and good artwork, which indies are doing right now, and not, maybe 80% of it, because I know that not every artwork that's going to be out there is going to be top notch, because it's everybody's first one. I know my one, when I first did my first comic, it was my terrible, as far as I'm concerned, because it was what I could do at that time. And then I realized that, okay, that's not what I want to put my first foot out. But, like it's crowdfunding allows us to do, test the market, see what works, what doesn't work. But I wonder, how many people out here who are doing comics are doing it because they love it, and how many people are doing it because it's a story they really need to tell, right? Like me, when I write a story, I'm like, this doesn't work right now. I'm going to put that over there, right?
Yeah,
and there's stories that I've written that have been there for about 20 years, right? There's one called Colourist Journey that I did 420 page, pages of novel, right? So it's like a novella, like 120 page per, it's like 500 pages, right? That's just sitting there. I need to rewrite that because it's very slow. It's not really something that I would myself find interesting now. And I don't think a kid, because it was written for young adults, right? That I'd find, which I wrote 20 years ago, right? Which I would find as a young adult interesting. So it just sits there. But that's 500 pages of comics. Not comics, storybooks, right? Pages, novel that's sitting there because it's not that interesting, that I think is interesting to people. And I wonder if other people are doing that right now. Like, are they going, is this what I should leave that? Let's go work on something. Until it's ready. Because this is something that's been with New Zealand comics and this as well in the art form, right? There's a whole history of New Zealand comic where it's like people look down on it because it's like, it's very cheap, it's photocopied, it's very tacky. There isn't any sort of there isn't any care about what they're putting out. It's like they're just shoving it out there because this is what I want to tell. Not thinking about the audience, not thinking about the market, not thinking about who they're competing with, right?
So there's a lot. So I got a lot for all of that.
Sure.
So when you first asked the question, I thought you were asking a different question or asking it differently. So I'm going to answer that first. At first, I thought you were asking the people doing the comics nowadays, the crowdfunding, how many of them do you think really care about what they're doing, and how many are thinking they're just going to make a quick buck and get a name? I think about 20. My estimate, and I've been around this now for 3 years.
Right.
When I started getting involved in this and watching the YouTube channels and getting involved with things, and I was putting my other project together. So it's been about 3 years already, believe it or not. And now that big project's out of the way, I'm moving faster. But I've noticed it. Like I'm going to have to say maybe 25% of the people that are doing Kickstarters, Indiegogos, whatever crowdfunding source they're using, I think about 25% of them are putting it out because they think they're going to make $1, or they think maybe I'm good at it, but I really don't like it, or whatever the case may be. I see people that have stated that they're doing X, Y, and Z on a campaign because they know it sells, or because they know there's a market for it, or they're changing their style to go manga because they know they'll make more sales, generate more sales. When you're doing something for the sales, when you're doing something for the demographic, you're doing it to make money. You're doing it to become popular. You're not doing it because you love it. Because the minute it doesn't pan out for you, you're dropping it and you're moving to something else. Now, someone like me, I can only speak for myself. I love what I do. So if I come up with a story, I'm putting these characters out there with myself invested in it. Like there's a lot of my personal emotional stuff in these stories because I love these characters. They're like my children on paper. You know what I'm saying? And and there's going to be people that say, hey, that's crap, I'm moving away, I'm not even clicking on it. And then there's going to be people that are like, oh wow, I love that looks great, gotta see what else they've done. There's going to be that on no matter what you put out, no matter how close you look at a demographic, there's going to be people that are going to look at it and say, yeah, that's shit. If you styled yourself to be manga because there's more fans of manga backing on such and such site or whatever, or that's the trend nowadays, you're still going to get people to come across and say, that's shit, I don't like manga. You got to do it because you love it to keep it going. If you plan on doing it long haul, you have to love it. If you don't love it, just do yourself a favor, save yourself a little anguish and just do something else. I mean, maybe you like writing, but you don't like the comic field. Then write for someone that does comics if you want to see yourself printed in comics or whatever the case may be. But do the aspect of it that you like. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it. Because one, you're flooding a market with stuff that people now have to rifle through to get the stuff that they might like. You're making people waste money, and you're putting something in their head like, oh, I bought this thing. This guy obviously just did it to make a sale. Oh, I don't know if I want to back this other guy's because maybe he's just doing the same thing. You're hurting the market and you're wasting your time. And I feel a lot of these people get upset with everybody else. It's like, hey, nobody, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but I do want to touch on the fact that I really think there's too much infighting with the YouTube being a point of getting, everyone went to YouTube and the social medias because, that's where you get everybody to see it. Yeah. But it kind of spawned this, well, now we have to have strife with each other. Like this group has to go after this group and this group has to say something about this person and that person. Like, no, come on, like knock it off. What are you here for? Are you here for that? Or are you here to make a comic book? Make a comic book. Have a great day. What does it matter? Okay, this guy said on a stream he didn't like your stuff. Guess what? That's one person won't buy your stuff. Move on. And I get it. A lot of people, oh, well, yeah, but he's saying it and he has a large fan base and whatever. Okay. Well, if he has a fan base that's simply not going to look at your stuff because he said something bad about it, you're probably better off without them buying your stuff. The ones that have a brain of their own are going to go look at your stuff anyway. So that being said, that's a part of this crowdfunding industry now
Yeah.
with social media, mainly YouTube and streaming services, that I don't get. I just, you could call me whatever you want. You could say whatever you want to me. I have a thick skin. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't like my stuff. All right. You think it's crap. You think it's shit, whatever. That's fine. That's your opinion. I mean, why you would feel the need to go out and broadcast it, I don't know. Maybe you need someone to acknowledge you, but like, to me, it's childish.
There is a confirmation bias, right? They believe what I believe, therefore that's what I want to hang out with, and it's kind of because I have to look at, like, I'm testing myself, right? Whenever I see things come up like that, that's interesting drama. Yeah, cool, okay, and then let's go back to work.
You're right. Listen, it is interesting. I'll tell you, it is interesting. Some of it, and some of it's funny. I laugh at it, and some of it's I'm like, but again, it all reminds me of high school. You ever watch two people fight in high school? You didn't really know them, but you sat there and watched it, and then out of nowhere,
I was one of those people I was one of those people fighting at high school.
But
So why are you guys watching? Why are you egging it on, right?
Well, yeah, you always had that one person in the crowd that nobody knew, and he was like, "Oh, you hear what he said about your mama?" Like that's what it seems like.
Yeah. So Louise is saying, my artist, like, is saying, like, I guess there needs to be a balance between what you truly want to say with your story and the need to entertain the audience. Yeah. And then
you always hope that what you want to say is going to be presented in an entertaining way, whether that be in a scary way through horror, whether that be in a sci-fi interesting way, whether that be in, no matter what your genre is, you want it to be an interesting story, and it's going to appeal to the people that are into that genre as long as the story is interesting. So yes, you do want to make it interesting, but I feel that goes hand in hand with loving what you do. If you love what you do, you're not going to sit there and create a story that you think is uninteresting. And if you do think it's not going the way you want, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, all right, I have to change this. Something's not working here. I have to go back and fix this. And on a rare occasion, you'll get all the way to the end and you'll be like, you know what? I got to scrub this whole damn thing because it just sucks. I'm restarting. And I've done it. I've done it. Yeah. But you're not going to do that unless you love it. If you don't love it, you don't care, you're going to write that piece of crap. You're not going to change it. You're going to put some artwork to it, and you're going to put it out there and see how many people bite. That's the difference between loving what you do and being an actual artist, writer, whatever, and then just being someone that's trying to jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, and you're right there. Like, I mean, and Louise makes a good point, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, if you don't love the work, you just put out whatever. Right, and then you get upset if somebody say, "Oh, well, that's trash." When I put out, like, I went and sold a comic book for $550 New Zealand, was worth about $1,000, or more US, because it was the first appearance of Miles, or the black
Miles Morales.
Yeah, so I had the, like, ultimate Fallout number 4. It's still in this sleeve and everything unopened. And we're doing this stream to raise money to get, to print it. The webcomic is in print, and critical. And then, like, we got printed, sold a bunch, and then I looked at it and went, yeah, this is not what I want to do with my first step forward into the world, right? As a creator. And so I went, rewrite, put it aside, rewrote, ground up, use some of the panels, use some of the text, and what worked because the story worked. And then even when we got to the end of it and we're about to put on, like, a card out, right? One of these, one of these beautiful cards that I've got is the Mac Brothers put out, right? Trading card. And on the back of it, I was about to say what was the the concept about these superheroes that were created. And my artist, right, Kevin, goes, "Hey, dude, this is an all ages comic book, and we don't want to have kids doing this to gain superpowers." And I went, "This is why we're at freaking on Kickstarter, like at Kickstarter, and I'm working on the trading cards because he's doing the artwork for the trading card, right?" And I'm like, "Holy crap! I could have just went, oh, you don't care, right?
Yeah, right.
Or I mean, hey, kids will do whatever the kids will do, right? You know, they will play with matches, and like this is a huge concern when a main thing about your superhero, which is for all ages, right? It's for all ages. Mom and dad can give it to their, their children, and
Yeah.
or read it to bedtime, whatever. Like I had one my when Star Wars came out, my nephew, who's huge on Star Wars at the time, he was probably about 5 years ago. Yeah, it's about, or was it 9 years ago? 9 years. Time goes by. So 2015, right, when Star Wars came out through Disney, they put a new whole Marvel series comics out, and so my brother-in-law, he bought the first 12 issues, and he would read with my, with my nephew Zach, bedtime, comic, and to think that like, he reads in there. This is how, uncles, superheroes get their powers. So I'm going to go try that.
Right.
No,
that's
and you're
crazy.
Go, well, that's also a responsibility to your audience, right?
Yeah.
Because as much as you can go, oh yeah, it's a comic book, and kids will be kids. There's a responsibility to your audience, and I think this is where I think this my question comes from. Is comics, is indie comics any grift? Because there's a lack of
Hold on one second. I just got to step away for 1 second. I've been here drinking a lot of fluids for a long time. I need 2 minutes.
All
I'll be right back.
Okay. So while he's doing that, what I'll do is I'll just put him off there. What I'll do is I'll go through our comic book, which is on Kickstarter right now, and show you a bit of that. But we've been in, it's been 7 days. I spent 4 days ill, so I wasn't able to do any marketing or anything like that. But one thing, about this comic book is it's standalone, right? It's 28 pages. It's awesome work. There's a pull-out poster, which is this one here. Let me show you. It is this beautiful work here by Edwin, our colorist. This one here. So this is going to be a pull-out poster without any text on it, right in the smack dab in the middle, like in the old days. You can pull out a poster and there's stuff on the back that has got nothing to do with it. I mean, it doesn't affect the comic if you pull it out. Like there's no story there. So I showed that yesterday, but I might show that again later when Christian comes back. So you can basically carefully pull out extend the staples out, and then lift it out, and you can frame it. You can or you can just stick it on the wall, right? Or just leave it in there. The thing is, like, I have a 181 Batman, right, which has got the first appearance of Poison Ivy, and the poster's missing. So whoever owned that, probably a young kid, right, got the poster out at that time and put it on the wall. So you can do that with this one, with our comic. So I'm going to go through from the start, and so you guys get an idea what was going on with this. So this is an ongoing series, but every single issue of this ongoing series is a standalone book. If you're a comic person, you know what a standalone is, which means it's self-contained. You don't have to read any other stories. However, it's an ongoing series, which means that each story is about robots, and it's going to be, every issue is going to have a big main story, and it's going to have a backup story, or might have 2 big stories in it, like this one. This has got a so the first story is where are we? 16 pages. So you got 16 pages, and if you really thought about it, and I was looking at this, if a normal Marvel comic, this would be a complete 22-page comic book. Because they hardly have any story in it. So it's kind of a condensed 22-page story in a 16-page story. I mean, comic book, 22-page comic book in a 16-page story, right? So that one's about the Shankar family. Mom and dad, little Aaron, are in orbit on board their spacecraft above the first human settlement on the planet Venus, right? They're waiting to land, but nobody's telling them, hey, you can land now. And so they can't stay up there forever, because they're running out of fuel, right? And so, you learn about why they're going there. Why are this young family going there, and who they are and stuff, and what happens there. So, as I mentioned earlier, Luis is in the chat. He's translating this into Portuguese right now, and so this is the first page we did it to show. So all our comics, by the way, before I go any further, they're all getting sent out from the US, which means if you're in Canada, you'll get the American freight charges. If you're in America, you'll get the American freight charges, so within the country. But if you're like me, over in New Zealand, you'll pay like $30 per comic book to get, but in the US, you probably cost about $10 or something, or maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, depending on how inflation goes the next couple of weeks, right? Or a couple of months with the new elections and all that. So the second story is the title story, which is Robot Nation. It's a 12-page story. Again, condensed short story. And that's about it's set in the near future New Zealand, which is the actual place of this is just down the road from me. It's a little harbor with like a bay with an inlet, and it's got a wharf. It's a little township. And so you get to see that in this one here. And this is what this is kind of a more futuristic view of it, but this is what sort of looks like. And so our artist, of course, is Francesco Conte from Italy. And our colorist is Edwin. We had him yesterday. You can go check out that stream from yesterday. And he's from America, right? Massachusetts? Yeah. Or Cincinnati, something like that. New York. And so he's done an amazing job between the two stories. So, you've got one on Earth, and then you got one in space. So you can see the skies, the color, of the environment. And I love that I didn't tell him what to do, right? Like, usually, like every now and then I go tweak this, tweak that, but that's about it. But his choice in coloring, man, I love the whole. You get to see this is what Earth is like. You got blue skies and stuff, but when you go to Venus, you got like this orange skies and stuff and desert. And this is like I said, this is the first human colony on this is the Venus colony Alpha. That's the name of the colony, Alpha, right? Population 362, including children. Crianza? Yeah, I think that's what crianza means. And so I also put this in there to show like the art without the coloring, and so you get a bit of so all the artwork is done. Right now we're getting it colored, and so that's what's helping, that's going to help this. And so our first cover is this standard cover, and I'm just going to check if our guest is back. Yep. So our first cover is I didn't like. No, did I? Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Apologies there. So this is our original cover for the English, and you can buy as many as you want with this. There's no limit on this. Remember, I said there was like a limit to 20 or 20 or 25 or 50 on each of our covers. There's no limits on the English, and this is by the artist. I think I just did a mistake on there. This is actually, this should be like, apologies, Hugo. This is colored by Hugo. I think I just copy pasted something. But this is the cover is by the interior artist. So when you buy cover A, the artwork is always, all our cover A's are usually 99.9% is by the interior artist. You're not getting like a beta switch, right? So you've got the same artist who did the inside is doing the cover, and the colors are by as I mentioned, I got it wrong there. Hugo Aquino. He's the one who colored our Incredible cover. Now, cover B, which is in Spanish, is by our artist Tomas, who I colored this one, and he's working on a manga because that's his style, right? I just write a comic and I go, who wants to work with me on a comic book, right? And so he's doing a manga miniseries. I think it's like a 4-issue at the moment. I think I've got to finish off like another 30-40 pages. And so he's working on issue 1 at the moment. Issue 2, then he's got to return to issue 1 because we had a change in artist. But Tomas is amazing, and he's actually translating this into Spanish. And so you get the Spanish cover. So with this one, this is when the only time you'll get this cover is if you buy the Spanish one. And same thing here. The only time you'll get this cover and this, this variant was if you get the Portuguese cover, and that's by Badillo and Edwin Badillo and Manuel. So cover C, and of course that's in Portuguese and by our artist on Howler Louise Andrade. So now we've got like cover D, a bit of, you know, because the idea behind this series, it's a mature comic, and so I wanted to make sure people understood that going in, that this is for mature readers right from start. Even though there's kind of like no nudity in the comic book, there are some, you know, gore and all that. I mean, it is a sci-fi horror comic, right? So I wanted to set that stage. So the artist on this cover art is James D. Hill, and the colors are by G Spot, Al Banksy, and he's working on a 6-issue miniseries right now, which is a supernatural horror comic called Templeton, and that is kind of like a NC-17. I think you guys have it there. Is that what you guys call it, like for adult kind of, you know, entertainment? NC-17 for movies, Christian, or is it R18? Do you guys say that? Like not X-rated content, but just below that, like, you know, mature content.
I think it's R. I think it's R, and then the one up above that is NC-17, I believe.
Right. So this would be our comic, the one he's going to be working on, which is Templeton, Rise and Fall, and he's already finished issue 1. He's working on issue 2 now, so it's really full on heaven and hell, you know, angels and demons. Just grisly, and so I don't, you know, we're going to put that R rating on there for that.
I think it's funny that the colors are by G Spot for this cover. The colors are by G Spot. It's cover D. I'm going to leave that alone. But everything falls in place for that cover, just so
it does, right? And it's Robot Lover as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But look at the satin color, right? Look at this beautiful satin.
Yeah.
Bedspread, just the colors on all this. Amazing work, man.
No, the colors are good.
So, yeah. So now you've got the G-Spot covers, and you've got the Lab Rat, and this is one of 3 variants for this campaign. So this is
that one I really like.
This is 2. This one.
That one right.
This one.
Yeah. No, not that one. The cover E, I guess. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like, for me,
there's a lot going on, but I like detail, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I also made that as a foil cover because I liked it so much. So you got a foil version in there as well.
And I remember the first time I looked at it, I didn't realize, because you look at all the stark colors, I didn't realize that was hair there, or whether it's wires that mock hair, I can't tell. But once I realized what it was, I liked it even more because I like the platinum kind of look to it. Yeah. So yeah, it's really cool, and all the stuff going on in the background around the tube with the light in it, and all this. You know, the one thing I like about robots in sci-fi is you can put a lot of stuff in there it's really nothing, but it looks like it all should be doing something. Yeah. It's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, one of the weird things about my computer screen, right? This is LCD. For me, it looks like lenticular, you know, like 3D. It looks like 3D to me. I'm not. You can see it on your screen, but on my screen, when I look at it, it looks 3D to me, and I'm like, I gotta make this to look 3D one day, man, because it's just like this hand is like just in front of the flame at the back, but then it's floating in this here. It's like this. It's floating for me. Right.
Well, they did a really good job with the figure up front, and everything up front that you're going to focus on right away is really crisp, just like looking through a camera with the focus on the main figure, and then everything else is slightly muted so that it's out of focus. It gives it that pop, the character, the skull, the energy, all that stuff is popped off that background.
It's gonna look great in this, man. Like when it's in foil, it's gonna look so good when it's in foil. I had to get the beneath the skin in there. So that's the other variant to this. So you got the beneath the skin, but this is the one with, like, you know, the Lab Rat where she's got the lingerie on and stuff.
I like the lingerie white cover though. That's
This one
looks
here,
cool.
where you
Yeah,
can draw
it
your
just
own.
looks really cool.
Yeah, this was actually one of our artist friends, Art Victim. He suggested this, and then G Spot said, "Okay, because initially he had sent me a pencil thing just to say, hey, I've got this if you want to use it as promo." And then Art Victim said, "Hey, you know what? It would look cool if you put it on a cover and had other people can draw their own in it." And so then G Spot said, "Hey, okay, I'll listen to the podcast. Yeah, here's this one now. I've colored it." So
Is that
yeah,
the
so
same?
then,
Is that the same underlying drawing for the other one? Is that the?
I've moved it a bit.
That's that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've moved it around a bit, so it's like it's a bit different.
Right.
So gives you a bit more room, So it's kind of like slightly, but because some
Right.
people, might want to go, maybe put the head up here or whatever. You can do so much with it, like a body like this, because like robots, like you can do, like you said, robots, you can do so much.
Now that's
right?
available. I could get that one.
Yeah, anybody could get this one. This is like I think this is like a 25 spot or a 50 spot. I think.
I think
Yeah, limit one, right?
Get that
So
one
it's
so I can
25
draw.
or 50. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So you can draw your own, and some people, I'm not, I don't do pen and paper drawing, so I don't.
Right.
For me, I wouldn't be able to do that because it'll take me forever. I'd have to like sketch it out, cube it all up, get it all perfect. But if I gave it to my friend, he'll be like, "Yeah, sweet," or someone like yourself, right, who's an artist. Yeah, it'll be all good to go. And I think that's why I think it is important, like, to offer this white variances, because there are people out there who love to do their own artwork on this and be a part of that.
Well, I just ordered a whole order of sketch covers for the one I just did. I just put in a secondary order for all sketch covers because they're going to be things I sell at conventions. I'm going to do the sketches at the conventions on the covers and sell them like that.
Right.
So I figured let me get it like that. And I'll order sketch covers for each one moving forward as well.
Yeah. So I mean, we did that with this one, right? This is so when I was like, this is like the web comic version. This is the one that I decided to redo. But I had a whole bunch of these done up, so I could just go, well, you could do it and give it away, or like, hey, if you buy 5 of those, we'll just give you one of these. Or if you buy a couple of our other different comics, my friend here will just sketch something for you. As this is a free thing. However, I wouldn't sell these anymore because I don't want this out there in the world anymore because I'm not like happy with my artwork and the artwork that's in it.
Right.
And so it works as a web comic, right? But it doesn't work for what I want to compete in the world.
Yeah.
As a comic. But having these, man, have your friends come in, like artist friends, say, hey, can you draw something on here? Because if I was drawing it, it would look something like this, some weird shit like this. Because this is my art style. Because I'm a sculptor, right? So when it comes to like doing physical work, this is what it'll be like, some weird, little chibi like this on there.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it'll be like a little chibi drawing. It'll take me about 2 days to draw it because I'm that slow, and that's why I appreciate artists because, like, and illustrators.
But I don't know about collectors, but fans I know like that stuff. I know because I'm a fan of comics too. I don't just create comics. I've been a fan of comics since I was a kid, and if the writer, especially if the writer, I'd be amazed if the writers came out and started doing sketches on covers. That'd be awesome. But artists, just I'd rather have, if sketch covers were around when I was a kid, I would have been so much more happier, and I would have bought nothing but blank covers my entire life. Forget all the other variants. Simply because you go to a convention, people bring sketchbooks, people bring whatever they have on them, and they hand it to someone. They're like, "Can you give me a sketch?" Whatever. And if they're charging, they'll pay for it. If a lot of guys used to do it for free, I don't know if they even do that anymore. But a sketch cover is so much better because you could form your own collection. You can get your own long box of nothing but comics done by your favorite artists, and I think that's so much cooler to collect than a sketchbook. Because guess what? you drop coffee or soda or something on a sketchbook, you lose them all at once. If you ruin one sketch cover book, the chances are you didn't ruin all of them, you know. So, but I like it. I must have over two. I'm just guesstimating over 200 sketch cover books that I've bought since they started doing them, and I think I've drawn on maybe 30 of them. I have 30 completed. I got like 5 right now that are in various stages of undone. Those are also things that I like to use to break the block, you know, like I'll jump off my page work and go and work on one of the sketch covers and then jump back over. But they're cool, man. I like them. The guy in my local comic shop, every time I come in, he goes, "I got you 3, I got you 2." Like he just knows to order the sketch covers for me. So I'm like, "You're awesome, dude."
Yeah. So one of now we went on to that while you were away. So I want to come back to Louise's comments here. So he was saying, and this is in regards to, you know, writing stories, and I guess that there needs to be a balance between what you truly want to say with your story and the need to entertain the audience. Now we discussed that. So the next thing after that, he said, but I totally agree. We shouldn't make stories just for the sake of money, because see, that's what we, you know, and I don't. And there's a balance to that, right? When it comes to art versus money, and it's important, like you know, and he carries on to say, yeah, love is important for art, and essential actually, right? So when it comes to stuff like this, there has to be a balance between the money and the art, because as artists we cannot survive without the money,
right?
And so, however, you also don't want to glut the friggin' economy, or like not economy, sorry, the market with just anything, right? Because then people think that anything goes. Just like right now, people think that AI art. This is why I think the glutting of the indie comics industry, or you know, Kickstarter and all that crowdfunding, has made because of the quality of art or whatever, and because just anybody can do it without even having any what we say, like a player in the game kind of thing, right? No investment in it. It's just like, oh yeah, this is what's hit now. Like people like indie comics is crowdfunding's the thing now, so let's get a comic on there. Let's get some money out of that as a, you know. That's why people call it a growth.
There's people that will grab an idea, they'll grab a concept. Yeah, they'll grab an art style, and they'll grab a funding site that are all the hot ones at the moment. They'll smash something together, get it out there, make a good fortune on it, because they know these are the things, they did the research, these are the things that people are buying right now. And they'll make a fortune, they'll put it out there once. The people will absolutely hate it, because it was done for that sole reason of making that money. And now what they've done is they've bastardized the industry for their own gain. They've hurt the industry, and I call it an industry because it's where it's going. It is an industry now, whether people agree with it or not. It's a part of the comic industry anyway, at least now. And it's major part. Actually, you're hurting your money. You're hurting everybody's money by putting crap out there purposefully. Now, we touched on this earlier. I would never turn around to someone unless they threw stick figures up there with no words and just fighting. I'd be like, okay, you need to rethink what you're doing. Like, no one's going to buy that. Save yourself the trouble and the heart. I know you love it, but maybe you want to write it and find an artist that can put it out there if you really love it that much, or vice versa, whatever the case may be. If you're a really good artist and you have no story, then okay, maybe get someone to write, tell them what your characters are about and have them write you a cool story, and then you can illustrate it. There's ways to go about it if you love something and do it. Like, listen, even with me doing all of that right now for myself, I know I'm an artist first and foremost. The writing came secondary. I've gotten some really good feedback on the story, so that made me very happy. And it wasn't from people that needed to tell me, like, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't from my mother or anybody. But I would love to be able to get to a point where I could pay to have a writer on board. And not because I think I wouldn't be able to do it, but it would speed up my process, and it might give me a little free time. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I wouldn't have to work myself into an early grave by staying up all hours of the night doing this. I would love to have people do other things. I mean, I came right out of the gates knowing that coloring is not my strong point, and that would be who I have to hire. I also knew that I wanted to use funding to get some really nice covers on these things by people that I admire in the industry, and which is what I've been doing. I'm not the type of person that's going to go and get the hot name to do a cover. That I don't care about that. I'm going to get someone that I've always wanted to, that like back in the 90s, maybe I always wanted to work with. I told you I had Bart Sears, Andy Smith work on the first one, do covers for me. And I have Vic Medina, who I think is a great talent now. He's done 2 covers for me so far. Both of them are in this one. One's a standard back cover. It's going to be on every variant, but it's going to be the back cover. And one is an alternate front cover. But I also have, I have one person that is doing a cover. I'm not ready to divulge who that is yet, but they also were a known name back in the 90s whose stuff I really admired. And so they're doing a cover for this one for me. And that's what I plan to do moving forward, as long as I could get them interested to do one, and guess what? If I get to a point where the people who I want to do covers for me are just not available, but I'm ready to put out a Kickstarter, then unfortunately, guys, you're going to have to stick with my covers. You know what I'm saying? But like, I mean, that right there, like when you see the full cover of that, like, I just took the part with their 2 heads so you could see the 2 characters. And, and I think it works for what I'm using it for right there. But the cover on the whole cover is just really, really cool. It's very Batman-esque.
I'm gonna do something what I heard Naomi do the other day, and then like what my I asked a whole bunch of people on Facebook to vote on which what to put out, what would work. So can I suggest that you put the logo? Let me get this up here. That you put the logo of the and the name on here somewhere. So when the people, because what happens is like when you go across on Kickstarter, what you see is because if that's all people see, they won't know what it is when you on your header. So if you have a logo on there, right? Yep. So that's coming up, right? So like this, where are we here? So you got like name Lady Gunslinger and all that. So G.I. Joe, all this. So for your one, do you have that? Like, do you have one image that you're going to use for the logo?
I did it on the last one. I had my logo on here. Now
I mean the title of the title, like the Ajax, Unbound Fury,
Right, I did. So when I did it on the first one, I got a lot of input saying you should take it off because it's in the title, which is next to it. So now I took it off on this one and put my branding logo on it, which has been on everything to date. And the reason why I did that is because now it's interesting the way you just showed me it set up. It doesn't always set up that way. A lot of times it sets up with the images on the top left, and right next to it is your entire title of what it is. Yeah. And if it sets up that way, you don't need it on the image. If if you have your thing set up to scale boxes like you just showed me, it's different.
What I mean is like when you go to this, right? So what people initially see is this.
Right. So this is set up in.
So you got this one here, no title, but it's got at the bottom, right? And so same thing. So some of them like got it, some of them don't. So it's you're right, like it's 50-50, right? Yes or no?
Well,
yes
this isn't the standard. This also isn't the standard view that we're used to. I don't know if it's an American thing or whatever, but what it is usually like, so see how you have box they're next to each other. The campaigns are on either side of each other. There's a list format. So like if I go into Kickstarter, there's a list format.
Oh, okay, maybe that's for you, but this is like the general, like this is like international view
that I get.
Right. And here's the thing, look at this.
Yeah. So see where
Yes.
the titles are underneath? It says Darkwing Duck graphic novel, Coffin Comics, all new Lady Gunfighter.
Yeah.
That stands out to me. Go if you just take the Lady Death one. If you go back up to the Lady Death one, that's very hard to see the Lady Gunfighter Desolation.
Oh yeah, that's all mixed in there, right?
But
everybody
it's
knows
easy to
who.
read underneath. So,
yeah, but everybody knows who Coffin Comics is. So it's like, yeah, as soon as you start something, everybody's running to that.
right. So when
You
you have
still
an
just-
image like mine, see, this image is very dark, and the title is also dark. I actually had it on there initially, and I had to put some extra clouds under the title to sort of pop out a little more. And
you
I
could
said,
just
you know what?
outline it, right? Like on your title. Like I'm not sure what
It just doesn't.
what to use.
It just doesn't stand. It just doesn't stand out as nice when it comes down. So I figured I'm just going to go with the image and the logo here, and then do the title next to it. So on the way I see it when I go to Kickstarter, mine displays differently than what you showed me. It has the title off to the right hand side of it, but even on the boxed out one that you showed.
Yeah, I mean, like it's 50-50. It's like either you do or you don't, and that's interesting. So
I would rather someone see the image for the image, and then the title under it, and they can read the title clearly, separately, not try to strain to see it on the image, and the image is clear. There's no wording on it, like a virgin cover almost. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
you could see the image, you could see the art, you could see the title, and. So like I said, I did it the other way with the first one, and I did see, I did see the problems with it because not only are you busying up the artwork, but you're double explaining it because you got the title on the art,
fully
and then
agree.
You got the title next to it again.
Like 50-50, right? It's like whether you do it or you don't, and like it's at the end of the day, it's like whoever if people are interested in it, it's a cool thing. Now, one of the things that Luis said was like this, right? So, and this is, if I do hope indie comics gets some spotlight, comics shouldn't be just about the big two.
Absolutely.
And I think, getting back to the whole, like I was showing, like there's 28,500 comic projects on Kickstarter right now. Now we said 25% of it would be like what we consider would be like people just doing it because comics are a thing, and there are people who are doing that. And amongst those 25, and this is what I want to get to.
Wait, 28,000, but those include the old funded ones too, right?
Yeah,
okay.
But I mean they're the ones who are running at the moment. I'm not sure if it's the old funded ones as well. But
no, I think it's all of them because I think at any given time there's only a couple of hundred running live.
Okay.
I don't remember one. I don't remember any time where it's gone too much past like 200.
Okay.
It might
so
have.
let me get to that, and let's have a look. So Explore 200. Yeah, no, it's running.
So
what
is your parameter?
Funded, almost funded, and all this stuff.
Well, what are your parameters?
This is the parameters that got in there. Explore. Yeah,
comics.
I think this is just under comics. Filtered. So right. Following projects I've backed. All projects, live projects. There we go. That would work. So right now, yeah, you're right. 282 comics. So
28,000. I was about to stop.
Right.
I've been like, I can't do this. That's too many projects.
Yeah. However, but here's the thing, right? With 200, and this is my point here. So with 282 comics, right, projects on there right now,
it's a lot.
50 of them would be the grift. Hey, it's a popular thing right now to do comic books. Now, the other point I wanted to make on this is there are, because of the grift comics and because of the, not people who just don't love the comics. And I don't want to be some elitist here, right? I'm not saying that not everybody's doing it or doesn't love it. What I'm saying is that there are some who are doing it because it's the grift. But on top of that, there are people who are doing it because they're making it out of AI, right?
Yeah.
And this is
what AI
is.
I hate.
Yeah. So the grift also now has become where it's the AI comics are out here, and people, because of the lack of because of the grift for comics, there is two kinds of people that make AI comics. Those who really don't care and have a good little idea and chuck it in ChatGPT, write me a comic, and this is the parameters. Boom. I actually I did one of my stories like that. I said, oh, this. And I'll never use that story, right? But I wanted to see how it worked and what it could give you if you use the ChatGPT to write a comic book and how it worked out. And it gave me everything that is so stereotypical with what Hollywood believes the story should be.
Right.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I was like, that's not how I want my stories, but this is exactly what you get in entertainment 90% of the time right now. Now, so with that, you could now create a comic book, not only with the script, but also the art sliced up, stolen from like hundreds of thousands of, if not a million, comic book artists around the world to create your comic book in AI. And so the grift now gets not only the fact that people who don't like it, but people who are using it to create AI art. And here's where I get pissed off about it. We put 2 years into a comic book, work hard at it, and someone goes and puts out like a comic book within 3 months because they used AI art. Right? Not only that, maybe not even that, right? Maybe 24 hours or a month, right? Depending on what it is. Now that comic, because people have cheapened the value of what a comic book is and how much work goes into it, they will now pour $20,000 US into it over a handmade, skilled, decades learned, skilled, gone to school, gone to learn, gone to art school, whatever. And they will spend $20,000 on that and spend $1,200 on another book that's been worked on by humans, because there's no value to comics anymore in the sense. What's your take on it, dude?
This is what's going to happen. AI creates something based on your prompts. All right. You're not going to have an ongoing series that's coherent with AI. You're not, because it's going to do your one book and then you're going to go sit down for another book and give it its prompts, and it's going to create something, and your continuity is going to be shot within 3 or 4 books. That's my belief in that. But what I have to say to these people that want to stand up for AI art in this field or any field. First off, anyone that's not an artist, you can have your opinion, you can have your thought on it, but you really shouldn't try to have any say in it until it affects your business. If you're a writer and now they're taking your writing away, then you could say something. If you're a colorist and they're taking your color away, then you could say something. But don't. I've seen plenty of people come up on someone's stream or on their own stream and wanting to give the artist a lot of hell for not liking AI. Guess what? We could hate it all we want, or we could love it, but we can hate it all we want. The bottom line is anyone that's generating AI art and calling themselves an artist now and sticking up for it because that's what they have to do to be able to do it. Number one, where were you before the AI? Were you creating artwork? No. Okay. Number two, how much of yourself is actually poured into the artwork, the story, whatever? How much of yourself is there? How much of your idea is there? How much do you really care about the final product? If you don't, you're not an artist. And you didn't use a tool. AI is not a tool. AI creates everything. Digital art is a tool because I still have to know where to make that brush stroke go. I still have to know where to put the eye. I still have to know how the fingers bend. I still have to know all that stuff to manipulate digital art. I don't need to know a damn thing about that to do AI. So the argument is not even an argument for AI. AI is not an art tool. AI is something that anybody can use as long as they know how to read a book on how to operate it. And that to me is a piece of machinery. It's not a tool. All right. And you know what? I would love for someone to tell me what is the definition of a tool that they're using to say that it is one, because it's not. And you're not an artist if you're an AI artist, because again, nothing skilled about you went into it. And I'm sorry, writing prompts or stating prompts is not a talent. Anyone can do it.
So this is from Australia. So just around across the pond from us, right? This came out yesterday, and I want to play this. Let's have a look at this, right? in line with what we're talking about here. So this the title of this is this is an Australian news site. I mean news, their TV channel ABC.
Okay.
And so AI is reliant on mass surveillance, and we should be cautious. Warns head of messaging app. Right. So let's have a look at this because I haven't watched it. I want to watch it together with
All right.
with a guest. So
Whitaker, welcome to 7:30.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
There are a couple of separate global debates going on about digital platforms. On the one hand, there's the debate about the incidence of mass surveillance of users on various platforms. And on the other one, or the other debate, and this is particularly important to Signal, is the right to privacy. If we could talk about those two to start with, why has privacy become so hard to protect online?
Well, there's a long answer to that question, but I'll put it quickly by saying that we are in the age of the mass surveillance tech company monopoly, where platforms like Facebook or YouTube or other large tech business models have built incredibly powerful empires by collecting huge amounts of data on people, creating classifications of people, and then selling access to advertisers or training AI models or doing other highly profitable activities with that data. So suffice it to say, mass surveillance is the engine of the tech company business model, and that's created a society where privacy is both important and in very, very short supply.
Australia's e-safety commissioner recently took on Elon Musk, for example, requesting the removal of vision of a stabbing in a church here in Sydney. It was unsuccessful. Should tech platforms be held responsible for spreading that sort of content?
Well, I think we need to break that question down and actually question the form that tech platforms have taken. Because we live in a world right now where there are about 5 major social media platforms that are very literally shaping the global information environment for everyone. So we have a context where these for-profit surveillance tech actors have outsized control over our information environment and present a very, very attractive political target to those who might want to shape or misshape that information environment. So I think we need to go to the root of the problem. The issue is not that every regulator doesn't get a chance to determine appropriate or inappropriate content. The issue is that we have a one-size-fits-all approach to our shared information ecosystem, and that these companies are able to determine what we see or not via algorithms that are generally calibrated to increase engagement, to promote more hyperbolic or more inflammatory content, and that we should really be attacking this problem at the root, beginning to grow more local and rigorous journalism outside of these platforms and ensuring that there are more local alternatives to the one-size-fits-all.
We go to the question of control or interventions in private communications like the encrypted communications on Signal. Governments in a number of countries have moved to try to get access for law enforcement purposes to encrypted communications. Shouldn't they be able to do that?
Absolutely not. Either encryption works for everyone, including governments, including militaries, including human rights workers, journalists, everyone for whom digital security and meaningful communications privacy equals life or death, equals the confidentiality of sensitive negotiations, equals the ability to do their job without oppressive surveillance. Or encryption is broken for everyone, and backdoors and vulnerabilities are left open for hostile nation states, for hackers, and for anyone else who would want to undermine our core infrastructure. So this is not a topic on which we can negotiate. This is a topic where we're talking about the fundamental laws of mathematics.
But the result of that is that you might have terrorists communicating on your platforms. Researchers at the University of New South Wales say that pedophiles in Australia who are actively offending are 5 times more likely to use Signal than other men. How concerned are you that your platform might be being used to carry abusive material or dangerous material?
The methodology of that survey is highly flawed. And I think we need to back up and recognize that we are in an age of unprecedented mass surveillance. There is more data available to law enforcement, available to governments than has ever been available in human history. And there is no evidence that the ability to communicate privately is a causal factor in the serious crime of child sexual abuse or terrorism. That there are many, many, many avenues open to law enforcement. And I think what we are seeing, sadly, is the continued rehashing of a desire that has existed for many, many decades for law enforcement to have access to every piece of information, all communications that happen on digital platforms. And we have seen this attack on encryption crop up every few years under a different pretext, whether it be terrorism or saving children or drug dealers or what have you. It is always argued that since the bad people can use encryption, we should kill it for everyone else. And that is an incredibly dangerous impulse at a time of rising political authoritarianism, when we can look back in history and see how disastrous the abuse of mass surveillance has been when in the hands of authoritarian regimes.
So what's your message then to our regulators and our politicians who would like to be able to get some controls, not just on Signal, but on all sorts of platforms in that encrypted space?
I encourage politicians to have actual political bravery, to realize that there are deep pathologies with the toxic business models that rely on monopoly surveillance, and that to attack those business models, you need to reduce the invasion of privacy that is at the heart of that industry, instead of extending surveillance and trying to get a piece of what Silicon Valley has for government.
If I could just ask you about artificial intelligence briefly. You've noted that AI is based on that data collection model that you don't really like. Are you worried about where it's going to lead us?
So we need to recognize that the technologies being called AI now are reliant on mass surveillance. They require huge amounts of data to train and tune these AI models like GPT. And then they require more data to input into those models, whether it be personal data that the models use to make a decision or prediction about us, or whether it be the prompts that we enter into systems like ChatGPT. So these are models that fundamentally rely on the surveillance business model, and in their proliferation are expanding and entrenching this model. So I think we need to be very cautious with the AI narrative, where we are being led to confuse mass surveillance with intelligence, and by doing so, initiate these corporate technologies into the core of our social and governmental institutions.
Meredith Whittaker, thank you so much for talking to us tonight.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
So that was, let me get this here. So that was the founder of Signal.
Meredith Whittaker, welcome to Seventh.
Right. So Signal is a platform where it's like, what was like, let me just read what it, yeah. So president of the Signal Foundation, which developed one of the most commonly used encrypted messaging app, Signal, right? So it's the idea, like, we look at AI and stuff, and we go with ChatGPT and all this, and like we mentioned about comics, right, and writing, and how I took a story, that I had outlined and stuff, and I've written about couple pages of it. I went, let's see how ChatGPT works with this story, right? A boy and his dog, right? And this whole thing. And I had that story written. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and then I chucked it to ChatGPT, and that's like about a year ago or something. Because I wanted to see what this was all about, because I couldn't just speak on it without knowing what it does, right? And so, and I also did the AI art thing as well, and so. What happened was, like, let me get Meredith off there. So it was just the ABC of it, like I was mentioning, like it was just like, and I'm thinking, so what it did was anybody who'd ever written anything to do with robots, with kids, with dogs, basically took all those people's work and script whatever it was and put it into my story and went, this works here, this works here, this works here, this works here. However, I already knew that's what worked there, and I don't want that to work there, because I knew that's the easiest thing to write, was to do it the way it's supposed. That's the way the standard storytelling, right? Because if you're writing, you don't want everybody to just have the standard storytelling, like, because everybody can recognize a bad story, right?
Most people.
Yeah.
Except for the people that use AI.
Yeah. And,
I agree with Meredith. I agree with Meredith. And listen, she's 100% right. Listen, they use the excuse that they need to have access to encryption and everybody's private communications because of terrorism. Here's the thing: governments have been hunting down terrorists successfully since before computers were a thing, since before any technology that we know it today existed, because they know where it's coming from. They know who to be keeping tabs on roughly. They follow the trail that way. They could still do that today. All right. They still know who they're looking for, just because they can't see, and they can get access individually to those people based on court orders or whatever they need, however they got to go about it. There is no need for them to have access to yours and mine. You know what I'm saying? We're not on anybody's watch list. Well, maybe not till now, but we're not on anybody's watch list. And there's no reason for them to see what me and my grandparents are talking about on Facebook or whatever, behind closed doors on a messaging app or whatever. There's no reason for it. The reason is they want control. They want to be able to shut down whatever anybody's saying or thinking. And you know what? I'm the person that believes that, like, it goes back to what I said earlier. I have a thick skin. You could say whatever you want about me. Would it bother me? It might bother me. I'd be like, who the hell is this person's opinion? I don't even know who they are, but whatever. But you're entitled to your opinion, and you're entitled to say whatever the hell you want. That's how I feel. I mean, I'm in America. I believe you have the right to free speech here. And so say what you want. Guess what though? If you say it in a public arena, I'll just understand. I might say something back to you.
Yeah, I want to show you something about that. Just give me 1 sec. I had this happen to me yesterday, and perfect timing. I didn't think that's where it's going to lead to, but I had somebody on a public forum, like on Facebook, publicly say something in response to something I asked, right? Because the person I asked to, I actually know personally, right? And he's the mayor of our city, and he's a person who, who's actually, we're different here, right? We can walk up to our mayor, and so we can ask them stuff. So check this out, right? So I asked my mayor this because it's about there was a situation here where they've had to redo this friggin' hill that keeps, this mountain they got a road through, and kept every time it rained it's been down. So I said, hey, did they and this is not, it had nothing to do with me. The reason I asked was because I had 3 friends who are locals ask me that, like, did they do this? And I'm like, so I thought, hey, I know the mayor, right? So I asked the mayor, because he said now it's fixed. And I said, did they reinforce the soil and surrounding areas so there won't be any erosion? Remember, I had 3 people ask me this,
right? And
so I said, hey, I'll put it out to the mayor. Causing further closures down the line. Also, were those who planned the first work not sorry. All right, here we go. Also, were those who planned the first work not attend third form and learn about erosion, right? Also, when such bad work is done by initial contractors, are they held accountable for incurred costs caused by such shoddy work? Right. So he replies, right? About 6 hours later, he goes, Aru, he knows me personally, right? I know him personally. Right. He came to my birthday last year for my 50th. I actually got a good present from him. Thank you, Vince. So, And guys, when the site is open again, you'll see the amount of work that has been taking place, right? You will also see how much preventive work to make sure the site stay open for much longer time, and so that contractors can work. And I gave it a love, right? Liked it.
Right.
So here's what someone wrote, right? And remember, this is a public. This is on, this is a mayor's post.
Right.
So this guy comes in and says this, right? He goes, if you don't have faith in New Zealand to do things right, and your dodgy business has suffered because of the closure for repairs, go back to India. Right? I'm like, you don't even know who I am. You don't even know that I actually know the mayor.
Right.
And that's why I've asked him this, because 3 other people asked me this. And hey, by the way, dude, wait, so now you think I'm from India? Never stepped a foot in India. Right? I'm a 6th gen Indo-Fijian Kiwi, which means born in Fiji, Indian, right? So Fiji Islands, but I'm a Kiwi because I've spent like over 40, it's about 43 years now in New Zealand, and and lived in New Zealand since '81. So I haven't been anywhere to live apart from a year on holiday in Fiji, right? So this is my home. And watch your finger pointing in your racism, right? Also, I have more faith in New Zealand than anywhere, which is why I said what I did. Looks like you would rather have, hold on. I hate it when I've got my friggin' webcam in front of me. So, looks like you would rather have your head, in the sand. Plus, you look younger than I do, right? Like, look, this dude looks young as hell, right? It's probably about 30 something. You're like, and you're talking about like how they, people, say things on public platforms, yet they think they know, what is it called? They can stay without any recourse or anybody responding to that. I had other people say stuff as well, but that one was like took the cheese, right? Or cake, as they say, right? Because 2 people are communicating, you interject yourself into it. It was never aimed at you, but May and the mayor, Vince, are having a chat, and Vince responds, and I'm like, cool. I'm okay with it, because now my 3 friends who asked me this shit got their answer, right?
Right.
What we call Tai-ho, right? Wait, dude, go check it out for yourself and you'll see. But like you said, right, with AI and all this stuff, like people can say whatever they want, but and do whatever they want. But just because you can doesn't mean you do it, right? And but back to your point, right? You're saying like you got a thick skin, and anybody can do whatever they want, and that's why I put that up there, because
well, they can say whatever they want. Doing whatever they want is a different story. But but you could say something to me. If you have a problem with me, if you have a problem with my work, if you have a problem with maybe an opinion I hold on something, you could say it to me. That's who you should say it to. Say it to me.
Yeah.
I don't agree with cancel freaks that like to go out there and try. I said something in a comment section once. All right. Now, it was a joke. It wasn't pointed towards anybody. Was it the most sensitive thing in the world? Probably not. But it was in front of a small audience on a live stream, and it was in the comment section that this person must have been watching. They didn't like what I said. And I said, okay, you're entitled to your opinion. And I thought we had moved on. I get within about 10, 15 minutes, I get 3 messages on the sidebar. So I'm looking at that. And it's from other people that I deal with in a professional sense here with the comics and everything like that on telling me that this person reached out to them and tried getting me taken off, that I had an upcoming interview. They said, don't do it with them, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. The guy had gotten back into before I found this out, the guy had gotten back into the chat, and he gave like my full name or whatever and what I do and whatever. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's great. You went and looked at my Facebook page. Nothing's private. I mean, not the basic info that he was throwing out there wasn't private. I mean, but you can't go in there and look at my posts either or anything like that, because I have that just for private and for friends. But he came back with almost like I got you, like, look, I know who you are, blah blah blah. And I was like, that's great, dude. But guess what wasn't okay? What wasn't okay was you trying to go and get me thrown off or something because you didn't like an opinion I made. Now, granted, there's nothing I could do to you. You're probably living home safely in your grandma's basement, whatever. But social media and the internet has given you an outlet just to be angry at the world and be vindictive and hurtful for no reason to people and try to take them out. And I mean, and you're not even just cursing them out or telling them you don't like them. These people nowadays are trying to take people's jobs away from them. They're trying to get them shunned from stuff they love doing. And I don't agree with that. I think that's the worst thing that humanity has started to inflict upon itself. When you care that little about a fellow human being, that really says something about yourself that you really need to look at. You really need to look in the mirror and say, you know, what kind of person am I that I want to hurt the families? People like, you know, everybody has a lot of these people. I have a family. I have a family, a wife and a kid, and I got to provide for them and take care of them. But this guy didn't think twice about trying to cancel me from somewhere. So, you know, the internet age has made it so that these keyboard bullies that wouldn't have the courage to say a word to your face in public can now go and try and ruin your life. And for no other reason than they're feeling insignificant about themselves. It has nothing to do with what you said.
And that's how people behave, right?
Yeah.
When they don't have their own, when they don't feel well within themselves, they attack. Like if you're happy, you just get on with your life, right? You don't really think about whatever else is going on with anybody else. You just carry on with your life, and you got things going on, and you got next project, too busy, go do another piece of work, chat with somebody. You're not, you don't have the time to get into these scuffles. Now, and talking about like cancel, right? Like I've been canceled, right? And so locally. So the other mission is like we're talking about like, people doing that and over some little conversation, like even like, in private. I mean, Niobe, right? Niobe Comics got, removed and canceled for years out of a convention. That was pretty sad. But I want to show you something and who I think these people are like. And it's, give me one sec, I'll bring this up. And it's these people. They are like these people. And this is who these people behave like, right? So these cancel pigs, whatever we want to call them. So it's these people. They're just like these morons,
this was
right?
disgusting. This was disgusting because this had nothing. Can I just say something? I saw this video, and this has nothing to do with making a statement. You've taken something now that's been around longer than any person alive, generations.
Yeah. These
and
are cancel pigs.
have lived and gone and not touched these things, and you come out here and do this because you don't like something.
Yeah, I would beat the shit out of them. Honestly, I would take that thing there and I'd smash them because they have no right. This is a historical thing that people have preserved over centuries. Because this is somebody's home. I'm like, this is somebody's like country, right? This is their private area. This is their cultural significance. This pig heads, these friggin' white t-shirt wearing morons deserve to be jailed on sight, right? Like they should not be allowed to walk anywhere, and they should be imprisoned. That's how bad I feel about, like how much I feel about this.
What is there? There's a summer solstice thing or something like that about to come up now too that takes place at Stonehenge. A lot of people go to it. It's a
religious significance as well, right? And like this is the thing about this thing. I don't believe in the religion, but I still respect it. And these morons who probably don't even live there, right, are not even there, being paid by some other friggin' people, and nobody gives a shit about you just so no to oil. There'll be 1 million people more who will just say, look, 100,000 people more will say, you know what? Just because you did that, I'm going to go buy some more fuel extra. I want to use that more.
First off, I feel if they live there, they should be ashamed of themselves. But I don't think anyone that lives there would have
They
the.
should be arrested on site and jailed.
I don't think someone that lives there would have that kind of disrespect for something that's part of their heritage because they live there and they know about it and they grew up with it. I don't think they would do this. But the thing that bothers me, not bothers me, but it's funny, is like a lot of these people are like the same people that'll be like save the environment, or, you know, they're all
That's
into
it.
nature and everything like that.
Yeah.
But you just ruined the site for the summer solstice, which is all about nature and earth and the planets. And it's like, so you're hurting yourself. You're hurting a place where you're probably going to go hang out next week. You're not making sense with what you're doing. And guess what?
But they have no
what I said. They wouldn't have. They don't have the guts. They don't have the guts to go up to the person they're upset with and say it to their face. What they did here was they did a public vandalization where they know they're only going to go to jail for a short time, get a slap on the wrist, and it's a safe way for them to get angry.
Just like cancel pigs, right? Keyboard warriors, cancel you online.
Like I said, listen, if someone doesn't like what I say, then they can come on to wherever I am at the moment, or they can message me however they can find me, and they can say, well, I think your art stinks. I think your stories stink. I think you're bald. I think you're fat. I think you're ugly. I think whatever. Say whatever you want. That's because that would be, I guess, similar to what maybe I said that offended them without knowing. Because now you said something to me because you think I said something to you. And all right, good. Then we're even, Steven. You said what you needed to say about me. Unfortunately, it's not going to hurt my feelings, but whatever. But when you take it to another level, you're doing something entirely different. You change the whole game, and you are now the bad person that has to look in the mirror and feel comfortable with themselves. Yeah.
And this is why this upsets me. The ruining of artifacts, the ruining of culture, the ruining of upsetting everybody, everyday people's lives, trying to get to work, provide for their family, destroying monuments of historical value to those people in that land. But not only to there. I mean, for me, even here, all the way here in New Zealand, I feel pissed off about this monument over there being destroyed this way, because some moron. And if you notice, it's these liberal white people, and I don't know, you know what I mean, right? That way there, they think about, I'm looking after, and they're rich, right? I'm looking after the environment. I'm going to get my protest. I'm all this, but look at all this poison you're putting into the, out there, and destroying somebody's heritage. You had nothing to do with. It's like when they start, was it like Mona Lisa or something? They started pouring.
Well, they threw paint on some piece of work in a museum, and then they sat down next to it. I briefly saw that. I forget what that was. That's ridiculous.
I would lose my shit. Honestly, I would lose my shit if I was there.
Well, I mean, these people, a lot of this stuff that they're attacking, like the Stonehenge or whatever, this stuff has been protected through the ages.
That's why it's still here, right?
Yeah, they didn't take someone's life, but they destroyed something that's ancient, or they they didn't destroy it, but they vandalized this. This eventually will all wash off, and humanity will wash off, and Stonehenge will still be there. They can knock the stones down; the stones will still be there. They came from the earth; they'll stay with the earth. It's just the disrespect that's in that it takes to do something like that. So guess what? Like, they didn't take a life. They didn't kill anybody, but because of the act against and on what they did it to, they should. I feel they should go to jail at least for life.
Yeah,
I do.
Well, that's my thing, right? So for me, it was like, why are they allowed to ruin great works of art, right? And disrupting people going about their lives. Can we put monitors on them, right? For no-fly zones, right? Can we bring back public?
It's human history. It's human history that they're taking it upon themselves to try and destroy. And if you want to destroy human history, then you should be locked up. I mean, it's not like you went and poured paint on my Nikes. I could get a new pair of Nikes. They're a dime a dozen, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you go and attack Stonehenge, you go and attack a work of art that can never be fixed or reproduced, then there needs to be a really big consequence for that. And not just a slap on the wrist so you can go out. When they get out next week or tomorrow or whenever, they're going to go do it again because guess what? Oh, that's all that happened to me? Oh, I'll keep doing this. That's what they think.
That's what I think. Like, there should be major freaking costs and years of freaking jail. And okay, you go, it's not it's not harming anybody. Hold on, we value this. This is cultural value to us for centuries. you know, these arts that like have been done by masters, and you who have no creative anything in your body would destroy it. See, I don't think any of these people actually are creative, and this is their way of destroying creative people's work. It's like AI, right? Let's get back to AI. It's like these people who have no creation, no creative bone in their body are now, or in their soul, are now destroying comics, are now destroying art because by using AI to do it. So these same people are using, you know, paint to destroy other people's works because they do not value that.
Well, let me put it to you this way. You know, you see all these acts, this stupidity. You see all the stupidity taking place in America, Canada,
And not just America, around the world, right?
I mean, no, but I'm saying you see it in countries that have freedom.
That's it.
When was the last time you heard of something like this happening in Russia, China, or North Korea?
Yeah.
No, because guess what would happen to those people in those countries? You wouldn't see them again.
Exactly.
And that's just the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
It's the truth. It's the truth. They do it where they know they can get away with it. They want to hate on all 100%. The freedoms that they enjoy in these countries, but then they still want to enjoy these countries. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. It's just people that have, you know, a lot of these people weren't given a purpose. You know, if you go back like 10, 20 years ago, easy, maybe even 30 years ago, I'm dating myself now, but, you know, 30 years ago, parents, a lot, not all of them, but a lot of parents stopped raising their kids. They started putting them in front of TV. They started putting them with nannies. They started putting them in daycare when they weren't home. If they were, you know, they didn't spend a lot of time with their children. They let society raise their children. So society doesn't give you, I mean, unless you break the law at a certain age, but society is not going to give you your moral compass. Society is just going to tell you yes or no. It's up to your parents to give you some sort of something to like values on things and to how to become a respectable human being and how to interact in society, not TV. TV doesn't do that. So it started a while ago, and now this is what has come of it. It's a lot of people that just don't care about other people or things. They don't care about history because a lot of them don't know about history. You know, I mean, you could probably ask the people at Stonehenge what they know about Stonehenge. They probably don't know a damn thing about it.
Yeah,
but they just other than it's something that's people know and they spray painted it.
Yeah. Well, with that, let's close up for the night. I think I've gone past your. Like I said, I was going to go 2.5. Not this long, but all right, guys. So before we leave, and please check out Robot Nation, and then it's on. It is live now, and hopefully you guys can help us out. Help me out on this. We'll get our project on the links in the chat right at the top. It's pinned. However, also right now, coming up soon will be Christian's work, and that's this one here, and the links in the chat as well. This is let me find the right one. Am I on the right one? Give me 1 sec. I think I had to go to back one. Yep, there it is. So this is please go and hit the button on notify me. This is where it should be, and you'll be able to find out from when this launches from Christian.
It'll send you a notification that it launched.
Yeah, so this is happening next month, right?
This will be happening next month. It's July 13th is going to be the launch day, and
awesome.
Sign up. And if you sign up, like I said, at this point, it's just signing up to be notified when it goes live. There's no obligation yet, so sign up. Also, anyone that signs up and backs it, there's going to be an exclusive for those people. I'm working on it now, and I'll release it on social media along with the link again. As to what that's going to be. I'm tossing up a couple of little ideas, but that'll be up, and probably by the end of this weekend, I'll have that hashed out. And it'll be the only way you can get that exclusive. So yeah, sign up. And if you sign up and back, you'll get that along with your order.
Awesome.
There's going to be quite a few tiers. You can catch up on the stuff that you missed already to get the full, the full story. And but you don't need to. This is it's gonna stand alone as its own as well. So you don't need to get the previous, but it'll be there. And I thank you for having me on again. And
oh, good, yeah.
And listening to me talk. And to those listening, by no means do I want you to call me and tell me I'm ugly. I don't want that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I can look in the mirror and find out for myself every time I look in the mirror.
I lie to myself and I say that I'm pretty, but
yeah.
But no, it was a good talk. I had a good time. Thanks again for having me on. And
good. Yeah,
your stuff looks good. But I'm definitely going to get that sketch cover.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, like people like what's it called? Sketch covers, man. Like I didn't mention earlier, but like I had actually one of my artist friends do that as well. Let me pop this up here. We're gonna get this set up soon. Oh, keep hitting the wrong one. So my artist friend, right? Shane, actually, when what was it? It was like Death of Spider-Man came out. I had him do a red dot and also a Deadpool Death of Spider-Man sort of thing on the wraparound.
Yeah.
He did one, and so I have it somewhere protected, hidden away in my shelves, and I haven't been able to find it because it's so I do think that that's why I like the the white covers, because they they just
next time we get together on this, I'll have some ready for you. I'll show you some of the ones I've done.
Yeah, man, that'd be cool.
Cool.
Yeah, when you launch, we'll have you back on when you launch. So that'd be great.
Sounds good.
All right. So wherever you guys are, I'm gonna put on the music as we end off. But thank you, Christian, for hopping on, man. I really appreciate it. So wherever you are, guys, be well, be safe. If you've got a loved one close by, as I always say, man, let them know that you care. Give them a kiss. Kids, parents, and especially guys do need to be told that they appreciate it. It's our ego. We don't need much, but we just need to be told we appreciate it.
That's right.
And however you do that, it's up to you. And of course, if they're not your loved ones are not close by, social media is there, phones are there, right? Do it whichever way you can. Hey, I'm here. I'm thinking about you, and hope you're okay. So thank you for joining us. We'll have another stream coming up soon in the next couple of days. So please like, subscribe, and share. And do check out, our comic book that's on Indiegogo. I'm sorry, Kickstarter right now. I always get, I kind of mix up like indie comics and Kickstarter. So it's like indie. Yeah, so I keep saying Indiegogo. It's indie comic, our indie comics on Kickstarter. And it's pinned to the chat right at the top. So you can get to that easy. Now, I'm going to put a Kiwi song on. This is Winterborn, My Own Purgatory, live on the way out. So more metal. This is Valhalla, and this was 8 years ago. So hopefully you guys enjoy some metal on your way out.
Nice.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you, Christian. We'll catch you next
time. Take care. Thank you.
Guys.
Welcome to my own purgatory. There's no what have you done? What have you let go? of hell. Looking at you. No. Waiting for the final word. Every time I don't find your way. In my heart, no cry. One night. Forever I am here, waiting to die. Trapped in my own purgatory.